One nice feature of WordPress is the ability to separate your design from your content. And that is a core principle of Builderius as well. They believe that you should design in Builderius, but your content should be written in the block editor so that it can be easily ported into different spaces. Consistency is one of the most powerful usability principles. You can see this in so many designs on the internet. We can go through a few examples and you see how we create a familiar layout, and that layout is carried across multiple pages and multiple posts so that there is a kind of consistency. A user already knows what to expect when they click on the next page and when they revisit your site. So now let's see how we can do it in Builderius. Speaking about design consistency, here we have a demo website that I created for my fictitious book review website. As you can see, I put in so much effort into it that I didn't even bother to put in proper featured images or different post authors. But yeah, you can see we have a design which looks consistent. And when we go to different archive pages for the book, so maybe different genres, they all have a similar feel to it. Same thing when you now go to each of the single books. So let's say I go to the Dancing with Shadows. You see this layout on the screen. We have the image on the side. This is a typical layout for book review websites. They will put the image of the book on the left-hand side. Then they'll put the title in the middle with some metadata. In this case, I put title, the subtitle, then the author of the book, and when it was released. Then I put a quote that comes from somewhere within the book, as well as a full review. You see, if I go to another example, you have the same thing. They have that familiar look and feel to each of the pages, so that when a user comes in the first time, they get to learn your layout. The second time they come in, they can easily know where exactly everything is. And that consistency carries through across multiple pages. And let's say for whatever reason, sometime in the future, you have some changes you want to make. Maybe this time you've decided that, oh no, the image should not be on the left anymore. I want the image to be at the top. You don't have to now start going through 100 different pages of books that you've reviewed to change them. You just simply change the blueprint, which is the template, and then it spreads across all of the different posts that you've created. So now let's see how we can create our templates in Builderius. So coming back to the WordPress dashboard, to get to your templates, you simply head over to Builderius and then Templates. Over there, you see any template you've created, especially if you've used one of the standard patterns from the Builderius team. So if I go back to my home, you see that there are two options to get started. If I had chosen the standard settings, it will have created some of those templates for me. These are the templates I've created. Starting in the columns view, you see the active. That just means that the template is active. You can quickly switch off any templates you want by just toggling off the button. The moment you toggle it off, it will revert to the nearest template that applies to that specific page. If there is none from Builderius, it will revert back to whatever was set up by your theme. So just keep that in mind. If I had created a pages template and I disable the front page template, then it will now revert back to pages and so on. That's how it will keep reverting back to the previous template that applies. If there is none from Builderius, then it applies through your theme. Then you're also given the title of the template, where exactly it applies to. The first one applies to the front page, then custom posts. Please note that custom posts is only for pro users. If you're a free user, you'll be limited to the default WordPress offering. So that's your pages, your posts, all singular, then 404 and some generic ones, but you cannot affect custom post types and custom archives. Then we have the template settings. The template settings is quite important in choosing which template gets the priority, because first it uses the sort order to determine priority before it now chooses the more specific or less specific template. So make sure that your sort order is in order. the smaller the number, the more specific that template is going to be. So the more priority the template is going to have. Then you can see when it was created and by whom. So now let's go ahead and create a new template for our books review. I created the books review using MetaBox, and you can go ahead and see the post type is just called books review. And you can see the books that I've created, because like I said, we are separating the content from the design. So I created the content using the block editor. You can go to any of them. See, the content was created using the standard block editor, but then the design was done using Builderius. So let's get rid of that and get rid of the other one. And we'll go ahead and create our template. So within the templates, like I said, front page is free, blog index is free, but when it comes to the custom posts, that is only for the paid version. I'll leave a link to my affiliate link where you can go ahead and purchase Builderius. It will help me out in sponsoring the channel, and you'd also get the Builderius plugin. If there's any discount, you will see the discount code in the link as well. So check out for that. So now let me go to the custom posts. And the thing that you would notice is that if I choose any of the other ones, like front page, we can just quickly save and open. But the moment I choose the custom posts, it disables because custom post is too generic. We need to know what post type it is. You know, we have pages, that is a post type. The media is a post type. Post is a post type. But when we now come to custom posts, that is too generic. Which custom post are you trying to affect? So you have to go into the advanced settings. Then you give it template a name. I'm going to say book reviews 2 because we already had one before. And the template location is the custom posts. Then I have to add a condition. So add condition. This is one thing that makes Builderius quite powerful. It has lots of conditions that you can apply. So let me go ahead and select condition. And you can see all that apply, and you have a quick search bar. You can apply it to post type if you want to just affect a single post type. You can affect when it has a post parent of something. You have so many different options for time of day and for several different options for your users, for the posts, for terms, and so on. Then let's just go ahead and choose post type. You can now choose the post type. What is the operator? So you say post type is so and so, then display it. Or post type is not, then display. So you have different operators, and you can choose the post type. In this example, I only have 2 post types that I created. So we're just going to choose the first one, which is book review. Then you can nest conditions. You can choose to have some and conditions. You can choose to have some or conditions. So that's one thing that makes Builderius more powerful than a lot of the other page builders that I've seen. With Builderius, you can nest and conditions. You can interlock it with or conditions and create a very complex web of conditional logic for your different posts, especially when you're creating maybe like a landing page. You can use URL parameters and so on. So let's just get rid of all the other conditions, and we're just going to stick with the book reviews. Then the sort order, because I already have one applied before, and I want to make sure that the new one I'm creating for book reviews takes precedence. So I'll reduce the number from 10 to 9. Now I can now go ahead and save and open. And we are brought into our familiar interface where we can now start laying out all of our content. One thing I like about Builderius is that you have a blank slate, so you can put exactly what you want. If you don't want the header, you can go ahead and delete the header out of there. If you don't want the footer, you can delete the footer. If you want to add a section before your main content area or an aside after the main content area, you are free to do that. There is no restriction, basically. So in this example, let's say I want to add an article. Then let's say I want to add an aside as well. So the article will house my current book review. Then the aside will probably house any related posts that I may have. Then within the article, I can decide. So I'm not really going to be showing you how to create designs in this example. I'm just going to show you how it is to add the different template structures to make up your design so that you can now add your content into that structure. Okay, so we're having the main, we have the article. Within the article, let's just say I'm adding maybe a header section. And then let's say I add a featured image section. So something like maybe a figure tag. Notice that I'm holding the shift key, which is why it is not selecting the item that was added last. It's still selecting what was highlighted before. So I can add multiple items. Then I can add a div block to house my content. So I'll just put a div. So I have all of my content set up now. So within the article tag, maybe I want it to have the container class. So I'll click on the article now so I can go into the settings. Then I'll go to the style tab and then put in my class name. Let's say container. So it will now give you the container class and apply all of the styling for containers. Then within the header, maybe that's where I want to put my page title. So I can put a heading tag. Then maybe a paragraph for the subtitle. Then maybe a div. So you just keep putting in all of the important information you need. Within the figure tag is where I'll put my featured image. So let's go ahead and drop in the featured image. And within the div content is where I'll put in my actual content. So I can leave that for now. So now let's go ahead and see how we can now start putting in our dynamic data to pull in the right information so that we don't have to be writing the information manually. So for the header, we want it to always take on the post title. So I'll click on the heading. We'll go to the content area. I'll delete what content we have there by default. Then I'll choose the dynamic stack icon and I'll simply search for title, or you can change the drop down from all to post. Now it will just filter down to only things that relate to the post. So these are all of the different tags that I can get for a post. So you can use that. But in this case, I'm just going to be searching for them. So I'll search for title. And that is by title. I get the title of the book. For whatever reason, if I want to change what is being previewed, at the top right, you see the exact thing that is being previewed. So right now I'm previewing the book review because that's the custom post type that I'm trying to edit. And I'm editing the children of the digital age. If I want to switch to another one, say maybe dancing with shadows, I have that. And I can continue. So the next one is my subtitle. I believe I called it subtitle, so I'll delete the inner content first and search for subtitle. So for my post, it's a meta box field called subtitle. Click on that and it pulls in the subtitle. Same thing, if I want to pull in the date, the same thing, just keep clicking on the dynamic stack and then you choose whatever information you want. And that's how simple it is. For the featured image, it's the same thing. You go to the image you want to add dynamic tags to. You can see the dynamic stack for all of the different fields. First is the URL. So I'll click on the dynamic stack for the URL and search for my featured image. In this case, I'm looking for the URL. So I'll look for the one that has URL in it. So featured image, file URL. Then I'll choose which of the sizes do I want. Do I want the original size, thumbnail, and the rest of them? I just want to get the maybe medium large. And I get the image. But remember, you have to also add alt text for accessibility. So if your image has an alt text, you now click on the dynamic stack and also pull in the, let me see, featured alt text. So we get our alt text. You can also do the same thing for like the width and the height of the image so that it avoids all of those errors that you get in your Google page speed insights. So you may want to go ahead and add an attribute for width and another attribute for the height, and then use the dynamic tag and get those ones for the image. Then for our content, it's simple. So I'll go to my div and go to primary. Within the content area, I just search for content. And then I put it in. By default, it comes as a big block of text, and that's because it is being escaped. The HTML is being escaped for security reasons. If you want to bring in the unescaped version of your content, the one thing I will show in my next video about dynamic data, but we'll just talk about it briefly now, is that when you see 2 square brackets, it means that we are getting the escaped version and it is coming from the template. If you see curly brackets, it means it's coming from a loop. So that's things you just need to remember. Whenever we're in a loop, we use curly brackets. Whenever we're in the template itself, we use square brackets. The square brackets will also work inside of the loop, but it's going to be taking data from the template, not from the loop. So just bear that in mind. Okay, so we have our template. So now to make it to become unescaped, we just need to put 3 square brackets, and Builderius makes it easy. I'll just right click and you see unescape, and that's it. You can see now it's now formatted in the way that we want. Then we can go ahead and start styling it however we want and so on. Okay, so now here is the sort of semi-finished design that I've created. We have our header section. I also have a breadcrumb component that I created. I'll teach about components in a future video. Then I've created my design using the CSS. Just added the layout. You can see the full layout. One way to collapse every element within the navigator is to just press the button at the top right-hand side, just underneath the save button. That's where you can either collapse or expand your entire structure. So in this case, you can see we have the main and then the article and the aside for your related posts. Then within the article, I have my header section. The same way I showed in the example, we have the different tags, and I've just styled them using global classes. So we can get to the global classes and see all of the styles that were applied. Because I was not going to reuse the styles globally, it's just going to be on a template level. I decided to style on the template level. So most of the styles that come into the templates were styled on the template level, and that is only for pro version users. And yeah, that's a basic overview about templates in Builderius. Ideally, you now go to your block editor and add in your content from the block editor, and you can create your design that way. So I hope you found this video helpful. If you have, please do leave a thumbs up and let me know in the comments, what did you enjoy about this video? What would you want me to talk about in a future video? I know one of the comments was that I should explore how would you be able to use core framework and ACSS in Builderius, and I'll be exploring that after the initial series. So stick out for that. The next video is going to be about dynamic data. Right now, I've just shown you the basic dynamic data, which is the one you add from the default ones that are given by Builderius. In the next video, I'll show you how to create some cool dynamic data tags, like using APIs, using some different functions and things like that. So stay tuned for the next video.